Hey, hi guys, welcome to another video. So in this particular video, we are going to learn about what is the importance of cybersecurity or information security for an organization. So I have already made multiple videos on different topic, and this particular, bunch of slides that I'm going to show you is about the importance of cybersecurity, which I already talked to some of the team, and probably this is something a generic one, and it's not that having high technical skills. So any layman can also understand about this particular different slides. So do share this video with everybody so that they realize what is the importance of information security and they take it in a serious way. So yeah, so security is like really important. So for this particular video, I'm just going to tell you the agenda is why security is a serious issue, what is a vulnerability is, why it occurs, different risk breaking. We'll talk about what is in high issue, low issue, medium issue, and all those stuffs. Then we are going to talk about some of the recent cyber attacks, which is a really interesting one, and then we have the some of the best practices to stay safe from various attack or make your organization more secure. So why security is a serious issue? With the emerge of technology, there are multiple devices or different characters in the environment or ecosystem now. Things like you have IoT devices, switch, router, computer, mobile devices, and so many different things, right? So the computer influence field has emerged in a broader way, and with the increase of technology or use of technology, there are also various vulnerable points that is going to come also. Now, with the same, having said that, the skills of the attackers are also increasing. They are spending a lot of trainings and even learning new modern techniques to fight or maybe bypass around different security protection and control also. Now, security impacts typically directly impact the organization reputation in the market. If you say like some of the Google emails or maybe some of the Google employees data breach has happened, then it is a big reputation to Google, right? Because it's already one of the market leading, and if you heard of something like Google has got hacked or something, it will be like making it more damages than any other thing. Now, with the increase of, as I said, the network environment and devices, it is getting really difficult to manage. Also, there are a lot of security controls which is coming up or emerging, but still we are in the phase like we still need some attention to, protect our devices and all those things. So that's the only reason, or these are the few reasons for which you need to take care security, like really serious way. Now, why security CS? There is another triangle I would love to show in different presentations. Is like, when you try to look at this particular like triangle, you see there is functionality, security, ease of use, and there is a center ball or red balls, I would say, which will be like as in a part of balancing everything. But if you try to focus this ball toward, let's say I'm moving this ball towards functionality, then the security and ease of use is getting compromised. And similarly, if I take the ball or move the ball towards ease of use, somewhere or other the functionality or security get compromised. So it's pretty difficult to find the balance or right stability with the different factors in mind when you have the security in control. Now, what exactly is a vulnerability? So, a vulnerability is nothing but a weakness or a loophole, which is basically, fault or maybe due to the implementation bug that allow an attacker or any user to perform some malicious activity on the system or the application. That's the real definition of vulnerability. So, I have already explained a lot of videos on vulnerability, exploitation, all those things. So, feel free to go ahead and watch those videos already there on my channel. Now, what are the source of vulnerability? Typically, people start blaming when you talk about vulnerability in an organization. They will say like, this team has done that, this team has made this mistake, that's why we have this vulnerability. But cutting straight and to the point, the vulnerability primary reasons are like your bad designs. So if your design itself is wrong, then you will definitely have this kind of vulnerability. Then next is your poor conceptualization. So if you are making the flaw in the concept of thinking, okay, this is how it is going to behave, then there is the vulnerability. Typical example, like let's say someone is making some I see a, let's say a door, smart door or something, which is already having some bypass, like by using some pin or something someone could able to bypass, or maybe there is flaw in the logical flaw in the gate lock and open system itself, then there is like some of the vulnerability. in-depth of programming, when you like look into programming, there are things like, developer make mistake with respect to database communication, input validation, and so many different things. Also bad testing, sometimes they just don't care about the testing and they just go ahead and start deploying their, or maybe releasing their product. So that's where this kind of issue happens. Now, if you talk about the risk ranking, there are basically four, or I would say five category things like, critical, high, medium, low, and informational. So critical are those ones. Sometimes, most of the time, it will basically like unauthenticated one, and it can severely damage the application. When I say severely damage the application, it just hit the target system and make some severe damage like database leak or things like even remote code execution and all those things. So they need more attention than any other vulnerability like your low or informational. So when you talk about the high, these are potentially, I would say, like most of the time potential make also system unusable, or things like even lead to various security breaches, or even potentially get hacked or something kind of. Let's say one of the example is file upload. So if you are not taking care of the file upload functionality properly, one can basically make a severe damage like perform a deface and all those things. And similarly, you have this medium category where the vulnerability has the potential to become a high or even critical, but these are not that directly visible or that directly exploitable, right? So that's the meaning of the medium vulnerability. And the same way, if you talk about the risk ranking, there is also mitigation ranking. Like you need to prioritize high vulnerability or critical vulnerability first, then high, and then medium. But you should not leave thinking like, okay, hey, this is just an normal issue, why should I just think as a medium or even prioritize it? So similarly, there are things like low issues, which are most of the time acceptable risk, or things like, okay, this is fine if it is there, but yeah, if you are ignoring that, sometimes the low vulnerability can become a make a severe damage to your application. Things like also informational, most of the time developer or people just don't care. Okay, here is a piece of just information, let's say to one of the simple example, I would say like robot.txt file is there, then there is some content like name or directory or something, but you just don't care. Okay, this is just fine. But utilizing that, attacker can basically perform a directory traversal or things like path traversal to read some of the sensitive file, that then it becomes more damageful. So informational is also need attention. It should not be like we just ignore it just like that. Moving forward, there are let's talk about some of the recent cyber attack. Now I know there are a lot of attack that has happened in recent time, but I just handpicked some of the important one which you might like. Okay, so we already knew about these things, like due to this COVID breach and all those things, people, a lot of celebrity, or I would say high profile people started tweeting saying like, okay, transfer this money, you will get double amount, or things like we are going for charity or something like that. And this is basically a big breach that has happened in this 2020, like tweeting all these things. And again, there are multiple analysis to it. We'll talk about that someday later, right? Now, the similar way, half billion customer data have been stolen from one of the popular hotel management system from Marriott, Standard, or International. A lot of people sensitive information, even starting their personal phone number, address, and all those things got leaked. That was one of the biggest hack that has happened in 2020. Also, things like hackers started to selling their MGM grand data dump in cryptocurrency. Just they have got some access to different data and they start selling. Okay, you just want some of the data which is really sensitive, then you just pin it to us some cryptocurrency and we'll send it. Also, yeah, Magellan Health ransomware attack data breach that has happened in recent times. So over 365,000 patients' data were stolen or even dumped, right? So that I have personally worked with some of the healthcare industry, and I know whenever this kind of data breach happen, how much it impact to the healthcare industry. So I know what are the importance of patient records for an healthcare industry. It's really super important to ensure that there is privacy, there is safety of the patient information. Also, I have seen some of the attacks where I think one of my friend Niruddha, he says like he can take a patient or can kill a patient from a remote system or something like that. So that's a funny part. Let's not take it pretty seriously. Similarly, here is one of the website. Have I been pawned? If I'm not sure whether you have been heard this particular name or not. So this is one of the website where you can just go ahead and verify whether you got hacked in your past time or not, or maybe using some of the website where hackers have gone access and your password has been stolen or not. So I've taken one of the simple example, maybe Sundar Pichai, one of the famous CEO. Okay, so I just taken the email address and went to this have I been pawned website and basically checked that whether this particular user has got hacked in past time using any of the websites. So where you see like Apollo or things like data and leaks or Gardi and all those different websites where this particular users or data has a particular account on that particular website and that has been pawned in recent time. Now, moving forward, let's talk about some of the best practices to defend against this kind of attack. So, if you see, one of the very important part is your applied defense in depth. So, things like you need to take seriously is the security stuff topic and put proper validation, do all those like best practices in the coding level that you need to follow. Also, I would say like also it's important to use one of the positive security model, like there should be considerable attention need to be paid on information security to make sure the product is really secure. Then the next part is you run with the least privilege, right? You need to ensure that there is authorization check at every point so that one or attacker do not get access to the sensitive part of the application or maybe the console or anything, right? Now avoid security by obscurity. So this is one of the important part. You don't want everybody to read the things in a clear way, so it's important to put obfuscation and make the product not that really easily readable by anybody else. You should also need to implement things like intrusion prevention system or even things like IDS, IPS, WAF. These are some of the add-on that just make sure that your device or your application is more secure compared to, when some external attacker comes into play. Then do not trust the infrastructure or service because most of the time that gets compromisable with some default credential, all those things. So you need to make sure that your application is secure irrespective of what environment it is running inside. Also, there is important part is training against social engineering. So I have already made a topic on social engineering attack in a bigger way, so you can go ahead and watch. I'll put the link in the description. So social engineering is one of the important area where most of the people lacks. Like let's say somebody calls you at late night and saying like, okay, I need to reset my password, or things like even call the customer support and says like, okay, can you please just reset my password? I just give you my phone number and email it or something, and someone is ended up resetting the password. That is where attacker basically utilizes the social engineering point or things like the social influence or emotional, I would say, to compromise the entire system. So these are some of the important point. I would definitely say that you just go through these slides or even things like go through this video again and again if you feel confused at any point of time, and I'm sure that this video would have helped you understand or make you realize that what is or why this security is so much important. So thanks for joining. I have just put some of the reference and will be uploading the slides and maybe put the link. And I hope to see you soon, guys, in another video. Thanks for watching. Have a great time. Bye bye. Do hit like, share, and subscribe.